distinguished senior police officers, our colleagues from media stakeholder institutions, the Chairperson, Editors Forum Ghana, the representative of UNESCO, and of course at the UN level, UNESCO is the umbrella body that is in charge of media development and safety of journalist issues. Mr. George Sapong, my brother, Executive Secretary of the National Media Commission, Gloria Hiaji, the Executive Secretary of Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association. And I should also say that we also have Mr. Gatetego, who is a member of the Council of the Ghana Community Radio Network. Originally, he was supposed to be here, but our usual traffic, he couldn't get here in time. So Mr. Gatetego is seated somewhere at the back there, and in due course, I think we'll get him up here. Now, over the last 18 months, the Media Foundation for West Africa will do regional monitoring of media trends, and by regional, I mean West Africa. And Ghana happens to be one of the countries that happens to be recording high incidence of abuses against journalists. And for the last 18 months, our data shows that there have been about close to 20 journalists who have been abused across our country. Some of these abuses have been by security personnel, but also others by either political party activists, organized groups, and, civilians. Now, our view is that whether or not the perpetrators are members of the security forces or organized group, political activists, or civilians, the police has a critical role to play, because ultimately we will look up to the police to find a solution to such violations against journalists. And around the world today, the safety of journalists is an important issue. And at the UN level, 2 resolutions have already been adopted, and currently a new resolution is being worked on that is focusing on prevention rather than investigating crimes or offenses that have occurred against the media. And over the last 2-3 years, we've also worked quite closely with the Ghana Police Service, and we do appreciate the commitment and support from the leadership of the police here. In 2016, during the elections, we had the support of the leadership of the police to organize a similar forum with journalists. And thankfully, the elections passed and there were no incidents against the media. Based on the commitment and the professionalism exhibited by the Ghana Police Service, when the Liberian elections were up, we sought permission from the IGP, and he graciously honored us with 2 personnel who accompanied us to Liberia to share the experiences from Ghana. And the Liberian Police Service deeply appreciated the level of knowledge, the level of professionalism that was shared with them. We did the same thing when the elections were up in Sierra Leone just a few months ago. Again, we had officers from the Ghana Police Service to join their colleagues in Sierra Leone to interact with the media and share with them some best practices that they've learned over the years in Ghana. And we thought that this is something that is so commendable. And of course, even as we have issues relating to abuses against journalists by some police officers, the solution is not to say that we would not want to talk with the police. We think that the way forward is to dialogue. Because sometimes some of these acts that are committed against journalists, if you look into it carefully, you may say, well, the journalist may not have handled himself or herself well. At other times, too, the journalist may have done what she or she is supposed to do, but perhaps the police officer may not have also acted the way it ought to be. So the best thing is to have a dialogue, to have a conversation, come up with a framework that would guide us going forward. And that is why we are deeply happy that the leadership of the police administration thought that it's important to build bridges between the police and the media, and to have such a conversation as we are having today. And to my colleagues from the media, editors, and all others, we are also grateful that you made time to be with us this morning. And so I believe that we're going to have a very fruitful discussion. It's not the usual thing where it's a press conference, at the end of it, the media have departed. This is about the media, and we would want to hear from you. We would want to discuss the issues with you. So that going forward, if you are beaten by a police officer, we will say, but police, you told us that going forward you won't do this, or if we do this, that's when you do that. So why is this happening? So it's my fervent hope that we would have a very fruitful deliberation. And once again, thank you very much to the IGP and his team for accepting us here and for agreeing to have this kind of conversation with us. I thank you very much.